All right, so we are covering the fours today when it comes to the tarot, and we're starting off with the Four of Cups. And so the Four of Cups represents stability, order, and the benefits of like a solid foundation, okay? What you're seeing in this card is an angel bringing in a cup, and this represents positive emotions, like something good is coming. And it's brought in by an angel, and it's God-given. Okay, so that's what is really being pointed out here, is that there's some sort of like little gift, little blessing, little silver lining, something that's going to cheer you up. There is a woman here. She's kind of like looking down. The woman she's ignoring everything around her, including the gift that's coming in. So it's kind of like, on one hand, this represents like being a bit self-absorbed, but it also represents introspection and meditation. It's almost like the woman's trying to reach like an inner state of balance and stability. So it's almost like there's a bit of the woman is unwilling to accept or acknowledge the angel's cup. And so it's almost like it's not time yet. Okay, so I'm kind of getting that vibe. It's not time yet. Or maybe she thinks it's not time, but guess what? It's on divine time, not her time. So I find that kind of funny. All right, so she must center herself before she can take on or allow herself to feel anything new, right? Because cups are feelings. So I feel like, there's a bit of over protectiveness or preoccupation with oneself. Could be a bit unbalanced. So it's kind of like the lack of concern about the outer world can lead to some sort of apathy. So making sure that we don't take things too far, and kind of like appreciate those little blessings in life, which I feel like this Four of Cups is highlighting. So just some direct meanings here. There is like the Three Cups, right, in the foreground. These symbolize emotion. So this is like the woman is like literally sitting with her emotions, okay? When you see the Four of Cups, she is not actively engaging with them, right? They're just kind of like in the forefront. So this could be that there's some sort of like process happening and recognizing these emotions and accepting them for what they are. So when you see the Four of Cups, this is, an energy of introspection, working on the process of like processing emotions and feelings, becoming centered and focusing on one's own needs when you see the Four of Cups. So if like you're doing a reading and you're seeing the Four of Cups in reverse, then this would be like a bit of self-absorption, maybe not engaged, maybe not caring about the outside world, having some sort of discontent or apathy. Okay, so that would be the Four of Cups. And now we're going to switch to the Four of Swords. Okay, the swords, our thoughts, our beliefs, the things we think about, we create. I would say with the Four of Swords, like this person is, sitting in the chair, looking for some stability and order and the benefits of a solid foundation. So again, similar to the Cups, it's like mental stability and clarity, as well as a strong mental foundation. And then the Cups are the emotional side of that. Okay, so again, the fours represent mercy, security, stability, structure, balance, okay, and a strong foundation. So the tired man, whether he's fully asleep or not, or just taking a break, I'm not sure that really matters, but it represents the necessity to rest, and have some sort of inactivity. It seems kind of dark out in this card, so it's being presented as nighttime, which is when like the day ends and things slow down and people kind of recharge. So when you see the Four of Swords, this could be like a card of recharging, respite, rest, contemplation, introspection, and just making sure that like your energy is balanced for the next day. So it's kind of like, that downtime, okay? And then, we see the swords, and the swords are at rest. They're just kind of resting on something. So this means that like the mind is at rest as well. And then there's like an angel that's hovering over the man, and everything is very still and quiet. And she does not intervene him or interrupt, but simply just watches as his strength becomes restored. So it's almost like she's like observing this this recharge happening. So also this angel could represent like there's some sort of help in processing what's gone on during the day or the past day or whatever needs to be processed subconsciously in the mind and spirit. And it's almost like, you know, there's this partnership happening, right? Spirit work as like the conscious mind and the body rest. So again, 4 Swords, the necessity of resting and a good night's sleep. Always lays down a solid foundation for the day ahead. It also represents a time to heal or recharge. And it also represents someone being quiet and non-active, as well as prayer and meditation. And then if this was like on the reverse or kind of coming in hot on the sideways position, I would say it's like someone's lacking ambition or sitting idle, not really doing anything about a situation, or being like a slacker. So, you know, don't be a slacker. All right, the next one we're going to cover is the Pentacles. And so this would be, you know, what affects your physical reality, right? Pentacles represent our physical reality. And so here, again, represents stability and order and the benefits of a solid foundation as it relates to your physical experience, right? Your material presence here. So looking at this, like they're leaning on a table, okay? So they're resting. And then they're surrounded by a few things that they're kind of holding on to tightly. And so why would this energy be holding on to this tightly, right? And so the pentacle in the book is like the form of a ledger, okay? So it's recording monies, expenditures, energy exchanges, okay? Keep in mind, energy exchanges. And she's kind of balancing the pentacle in the book on top of her head. And so this kind of like symbolizes like balancing finances, getting your ducks in a row. It also conveys that money issues are on the mind or concern, like top of mind, top of priority, right? That's why the book is on the top of her head. So it's like top of mind. There's also a pentacle at the base of this table, and it's kind of fastened. And so this represents, there's certain assets that cannot be removed, okay? And so there's some stability and there's some sort of like clutching onto that because it may be the largest asset. So there could be something that somebody's holding on to quite tightly because it's something they don't want to lose, all right? Or mismanage. And so, you know, the pentacle in the woman's hand is representing like the exchange that she has with others for basic needs and like everyday kind of expenditures. And then the pentacle under her elbow represents there's some discretionary funds and she's kind of hesitant to use it. So she's like, I have this here, it's in my savings, but I'm not really meant to dip into that right now. So again, like there's this organization of energy here being represented in different forms of abundance. There's a box on the table. It's locked and shut, and only the woman knows what's inside that box. So if you could guess what's inside that box or what you would put in that box, please let me know. You can just leave a comment and we can have some fun with that. This represents like hidden assets. It also hints to like maybe a bit of hoarding, a bit of greediness. So it's kind of like maybe there's passed down jewels in there that have some sort of value that not everybody knows about. So again, that's an example of things that we hold on to, right? That we consider part of our physical reality that provides us some sort of stability and order and foundation. So the woman here is focused on money. She knows precisely what she has and that her accounts are in balance. And she's a bit older, so she's no longer concerned with like raising the children and the money and all that takes to do. I feel like this is kind of like an evolution in the life cycle. So everything in the picture suggests that she is very self-sufficient, okay? And if nothing changes financially, she will continue to live within her means. Okay, so this is a card of representing living within your means. Okay, but not holding on too tightly to things. Okay, as well. So this angel is reminding the woman that putting too much focus on things and money causes an unhealthy imbalance in one's life. Okay. Spiritual assets, right? Generosity are also beneficial. So just knowing that, like, you know, not holding on to things too tightly, because there is this like spiritual energy exchange of giving and receiving. So some of the direct meanings here that I didn't already mention would be like assessing your personal finances, like budgeting and making sure things are in balance. Maybe prioritizing your spending, assessing one's personal relationship with money and material possessions. So this would be like a preoccupation with the material side of life. It may lead to neglecting the spiritual side of life, okay? There could be some hesitance to change a current situation. So like, are you holding onto a job because of the pay, the security, the benefits, whatever that might be? So, you know, and are you doing that to keep things in balance, or are you doing that because it's your comfort zone? Okay. So kind of like resisting change. Okay. Being aware of one's spending, being prudent and not necessarily being stingy, but just kind of like some awareness when it comes to that. Someone could be holding on to money, no new investments, no new spending on personal gifts, charity, or any kind of indulgences. This is kind of like, yeah, holding on to things. So if this was a card in reverse, I would say that this would be like a hoarder mentality. Someone may be obsessed with money and how to get it, meanwhile holding on to theirs so tightly. So almost like this would be someone who you go out to lunch with and they never say they have any money and they never pay for lunch. You seem to always be the one that pays for lunch. Okay. So also like penny pinching. Yeah. And stagnation. It also can represent stagnation. And just not being willing to like start anything new. It also can represent like protecting your energy, protecting your resources, regardless of, you know, maybe those types of resources. So that would be the Four of Pentacles. All right, so the next one we're focusing on is the Wands. And so I love this card because this reminds me of a card of celebration and having fun and enjoying all the fine things in life, right? Being happy-go-lucky. So we see this beautiful garland, right? It reminds me of, you know, my stairs growing up were very much covered in garlanded lights. It was beautiful during the holidays. So garland has been used as a decoration for festive occasions throughout the ages. Usually draped over these four wands here, the garland forms a canopy, which suggests a wedding, okay, and a celebration, okay? So there's a man and a woman, okay? The couple symbolizes the idea that a good marriage is the foundation for a happy, well-balanced family. Okay, this was written a while ago. So whatever that, sorry, I got interrupted. So whatever that resonates for you, a well-balanced family in whatever way that is for you. This card is not about courtship, okay? The energy has an excitement to it. It's not about celebrating marriage as an end result. It's about acknowledging the success of getting to this point. So this is like gratefulness, okay? And celebrating the potential and likelihood of future success. Okay, so that is the intention of the Four of Wands, is that it's acknowledging the success and how and what it took to get here. Because fours and the wands really are representing like there was a lot of action that needed to be taken in order to get to this point. There was a lot of challenges that had to be overcome, okay, to get to this point. And this point represents stability, order, and the benefits of a solid foundation, and the sense of the element of fire, wands, like, you know, really taking on challenges and moving forward, having the motivation, the creativity, and the inspiration to take on things that may seem difficult. So I feel like, you know, this is a celebration of like, we made it, okay? So there's this beautiful lake. It's calm, untroubled, emotionally content. There's beautiful mountains in the background. They symbolize like having goals and aspirations. The man and the woman have just begun their lives as a couple. So this is like a new adventure. They can potentially go far and reach great heights is pretty much why the water and the mountains are being represented here. And so this is, again, having established a good foundation together. So beautiful card representing like, great heights were achieved and there'll be many more to come. So reaching a notable plateau before the next phase begins. So this could represent like if you were on a project or in the process of delivering something in phases. This could represent like you made it past the most important phase, right? Also that a solid foundation has been laid in something, providing good cause for celebration and a reason to feel positive about how things will develop. So this again can have a very strong like career tie to it or purpose or project, maybe even something like creative. This is a good way to kind of understand like if it was that kind of question and you got the Four of Wands, it would be like, okay, like you're coming close or you are close or you have made it to that next plateau, okay, before the next phase begins. This is also about being happy and present and confident, especially about the future. And then this also represents sensing that one's efforts have not been in vain, right? So this is kind of like recognizing someone for a job well done, okay? I also have in reverse, this could be being too like up on yourself and congratulating yourself. It also can represent like there's more to go and to not procrastinate. So this is an interesting take on the Four of Wands. I know oftentimes people see this card and they're like, oh, it's the Union card, it's the 1111 card, it's the Twin Flame card. So just know that like each deck kind of has their own purpose sometimes for some of these cards and their meanings. So that is the 4's. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to do the 5's, 6's, 7's, 8's, 9's turns next. Stay tuned. Well, this will be a Tarotorial, and we are covering the 5's in the Minor Arcana in the Tarot deck. So 5's represent severity, crisis, change, challenge, and transformation, just to name a few. The first one we're starting out with today is the 5 of Cups. Okay, so the cups represent emotions, also a way of knowing that is also a feeling. Okay, so 5's trouble, instability, and unpredictability when it comes to how you're feeling, right? And so there's 3 knockdown cups, and these represent emotional exhaustion and depletion. Like there's no more in that cup. And the loss and the feelings of sadness and regret. Okay, so there's a bit of that. The 2 upright cups, though, however, represent there are some emotions on reserve, okay, in the wellspring. And so not all is lost, okay? The woman is so spent that she has a hard time realizing that the 2 cups are actually there. So it's kind of like crying over spilt milk to some extent in the nicest way possible. And so, the angel brings one of the cups and is like reminding that the spiritual resources are always available when needed. Like you're not doing this alone, okay? So there's that. This figure is also wearing like this wet dress, okay? It's just clinging to her body, and it suggests that the woman has recently come out of the water. So again, represents feelings and being drowned in the feelings and emotions, and it also represents like spiritual or emotional discomfort. And so nobody likes wearing a wet dress. I don't like wearing a wet dress, so I can empathize with this poor lady wearing a wet dress. It seems like she'd be cold, okay, and feeling alone and just physically uncomfortable. So this is representing somebody who is feeling physically, emotionally uncomfortable. There is a floral wreath, however. It's comprised of colorless dead flowers. So the wreath held by the woman represents like a loss, an ending, and a death, okay? So it's kind of not the happiest card. there is this like grayness to this card. It's like everything surrounding the woman inside and out is just colorless, like lifeless, like feeling like there's no beauty, okay? Again, it represents like a bit of depression, okay, as well as apathy, okay? So when you see the Five of Cups, it represents, you know, someone experiencing like emotional depletion or feeling spent, exhausted, depressed, maybe even some grief and sorrow over something that's been lost. Certainly disappointment, regret, and upset about something that has already happened. Okay, so that also is something to note, is that this is as a result of something that's already taken place. And there's not much that can be done about it. Okay, it's kind of like, you know, it's almost like processing the emotions and feelings of something that you know you inevitably need to let go of. Okay, so it's like part of that emotional process. And then again, crying over the spilt milk, and then the inability for now to see the positive in the situation. Okay, so if you see this card in reverse, it's like knowing your current emotional condition is temporary. It's like that acknowledgement of like, I know I'm going to feel like this for a little bit, but I'm going to get over it. And then there's this understanding that like, oh yeah, that's right. I do have access to the wellspring. I do have access to the Two Cups and the upright, and kind of like stepping into that if you saw the Five of Cups in the reverse. So that is the Five of Cups, and I hope she gets changed out of that wet dress soon and moves on to something that is more comfortable for her. Right? We all have empathy with that. Except for this next card. This next card is the Five of Swords. And again, just to preface this, swords are our mind, our thoughts, our beliefs, our subconscious. It represents communication and how we present ourselves and how we interact. Okay, same thing with the Five of Cups. So trouble, instability, and unpredictability when it comes to someone's mindset, okay? So this background setting is not pleasant, let's be real. It's like this foreboding angel fills the dark sky, and it's ominous. It's indicating a hostile environment. The choppy water signifies hurt or unsettled emotions, okay? So the swords on this card represent like ideas and speech that are used to attack others. When used this way as weapons, the swords have power. This kind of power is often based on deception, twisted arguments, propaganda, slandering, defamation of character. It has little to do with any objective truth or ethical standards, okay? So very biased, okay? And it's to further a narrative. There's a man holding these swords, and he has 3 of them, okay? They're in the foreground. So this is letting you know that this person has the upper hand over the other figures behind them, okay? Or at least that's their perspective. Like he's won somehow, like some sort of like shameless, unscrupulous method, okay, in which he has won and they have lost. He's smirking and he doesn't seem to have any empathy at all for what's been defeated and who they've been defeated by and how. There's a few swords on the ground, and this represents like ideas and speech that no longer work as effective weapons, okay? So it's almost like whatever attempts to stand their ground were met with defeat. The figures in the background, they are being represented as the defeated. And why did they lose? Why, like asking the question, like, why did they lose this argument? Why did they lose this fight? Why did they lose this battle? Did they play by the rules and that's why they lost? Or were they dishonorable like the winner? Did they overestimate their own abilities? How do they handle defeat? All right, so when you see this card, it packs a punch, not gonna lie. So again, direct meaning is all that matters is winning to this energy or attaining some sort of power, even if it's by like ruthless, unjust, or unethical means. contempt for playing by the rules, what it's like to be a winner and a loser in a hostile environment. It represents bullying, lack of empathy, or harsh criticism of others or yourself. If you are the loser, beating up on yourself or others. No concern for right or wrong, unethical or amoral behavior. Selfish and unsympathetic, doesn't care who gets hurt or what gets destroyed in the process. This is what the Five of Swords represents. If this was in the reverse, then this would be representing someone having fear of being victimized or bullied, the fear of being weak. So this would be, the motivation of someone acting out in these ways. Insecurity, harming others before they can harm you, like cheating on someone before you cheat on them, right? It's kind of like a sabotage energy. So a little message here when you see this card. Before you engage in conflict, examine your motives, because sometimes even if you win, nothing is resolved. Or worse, harm is needlessly done, both to others and yourself. Why can't we all just get along? I love that. That was great. Thank you for that little nugget. Little nugget. I love the little nugget. All right. Pentacles is next. All right. This is a rough card too. I mean, we're looking at people who are sitting outside in the cold and they don't seem to have much besides what's on their back. So again, representing the 5s with trouble, instability, and unpredictability. So in the background, there is the church, and it's a stone church, and it represents laws, it represents rules and ethical standards, and how they exist within society. It also represents the physical and moral strength, standing in stark contrast with the people outside, okay? It's like cold, it's wet, it's uncomfortable, and these people look uncomfortable. And so there's some sort of discomfort and hardship, okay, when you see the 5 of Pentacles. So let's look at the people for a minute. They're like being presented as like outcasts in some way, left out in the cold, as like amputees. They literally can't stand on their own 2 feet, okay? So that's really what this card is presenting, okay, is that somebody is experiencing hardship and they're having trouble standing on their own 2 feet. Okay, they are physically and perhaps spiritually handicapped, damaged, destitute, bankrupt, and broke. How did this happen? Are they victims of a cruel society, or have they brought this hardship upon themselves? Perhaps it's a little bit of both. They represent impoverishment, financial and material loss, and power. Health, injury, illness, and a difficulty or inability to adequately care for oneself. So the pentacles are sewn onto the people's garments. I don't know if you can see those. They are reminiscent of the stars the Jews were forced to wear by the Nazis in this particular deck before and during World War II. This depicts how human beings can be designated and treated as things, and how objectification can lead to immorality and sin. Viewing any sentient being as a thing leads to spiritual erosion. The 5 designated pentacles also represent the idea that individuals are often assessed or judged based on their material value. Seeing what a wealthy hedge fund manager as better than a low-income daycare worker would be an example. So again, this is like judging others by their materialism, prioritizing materialism over, other things in life, like having, and then experiencing the loss of that for whatever reason, and what responsibility you have in your own situations. Again, direct meanings, financial hardship, lack or downgrade in money, job, or residential situation, insecure, hitting rock bottom. This also represents a general misfortune and difficulty, poor health, injury, illness, or discomfort, or just simply needing assistance and asking and maybe not receiving the help, or not asking for help even though it's available to you. Again, kind of accepting the role of the outcast or unacceptable, or being rejected by normal society. Using material standards to judge the worth or worthiness of a person, including oneself. As well as understanding there's a spiritual bankruptcy that comes from treating people and others as things. So I would just say, like, if this was in reverse, this is really talking about like your own personal ethics and how they can be compromised, and how maybe you participated in compromising them or accepting that from others. There also is this hardship or stress that kind of comes along with this. So the message here is, may you have the strength to endure your situation and find hope in the comforting resources that are available to you. All right, and then we have the Five of Wands. The Five of Wands. Another good card to explain here. So again, fives are about stability, foundation, and the fact that there's issues with that, and those are being represented in these cards, like the unpredictability, the competition. So we're seeing a group of boys, and they seem to be playing a game, but nobody's sure what game it is. Are they following the same rules or even playing the same game? The four boys in the center, running in different directions, are headed for a collision. This represents confusion, lack of coordination, and potential conflict. There's an angel in the background who's observing this conflict and confusion and lack of coordination, and how sometimes it can be unavoidable. But if left unchecked, it can develop into something very harmful and dangerous, a cause for the angel's concern. Okay, so Five of Wands is representing that there's conflict going on. There's people or situations that are at odds with one another. There's disagreements, there's arguments, there's squabble, there's gossip. There's a lack of teamwork or coordinated effort. No one is on the same page. There's competition, there's rivalry, there's discordant, conflicting energy, a confused and hectic environment, chaos, drama, okay, is what this card is representing for us today. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was the fives, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.